Hey guys, so in this video we're going to finish up with the resources, and the last thing we need to do is break them into pieces after we collect them. So first let's find out where this mesh is located. Search for it in content browser, and it doesn't need to be iron ore, it can be any of the resources you choose. I'm just going to drag this one out, find some empty space, and then here in the selection mode we can go to fracture. And what fracture does, it lets you actually separate this mesh into multiple different meshes, so actually break it apart. First we need to create new collection, so click on this new button. And you don't have to change the name or the folder, it is automatically created where it is located, so create geometry collection. And now we can select one of these fractures. I generally just like to use the uniform one, which is just the basic one. And here for the settings, few of them we're going to use. You do have this explode amount, which lets you select how much you want to separate those meshes once they explode. And its value between like 0 and 1, but I think the best setting here is around 0.4. You can't see it now, but we will actually see it once we fracture it. And for actually this, how many pieces you want. For rock or anything that is like iron or all your metals, I would recommend doing something higher here because it looks better when you got multiple smaller pieces. But for the trees and anything like that, just keep it smaller because it doesn't look good if your tree breaks into like many small pieces. So I'll change it to 30, and then one more setting we want to actually change is the noise. And that is because noise lets you modify that mesh in between, or that side that separates, which will be very smooth by default. So if you here select this draw noise preview, this is basically what the side in between those meshes will look like. So it's completely smooth and it doesn't look good. But what we can do is we can increase the settings. Don't mind this preview because it's just showing up anywhere, so it will be like being placed in like multiple different positions. But if you just increase these values slightly, frequency as well, persistence, and then I'm not sure what this lacunarity does, so I'm just going to change the octave number to 6, and you can already see a few bumps. And then last thing I want to change is point spacing. I'm going to decrease it to 5. And now as you can see, this is the inside of the mesh that will break, so it's got some bumps, so it looks much better. And now we can just go ahead and fracture. And now you can already see the explode amount as well, because it separated it to this point, to 0.4. I can now change it and you will see what it actually does, but obviously you don't want these objects to be exploding because we just gathering them, so we want them to fall apart. So 0.4 as we had it is a good setting. And here after you fracture it, you can see these meshes, it is split it into, and we can actually test it out. We can go to selection, you do have this rainbow color, you can just select bone in here and show bone colors, uncheck it, and now I can just drop it from the air. It has physics and everything set up, and if I go to play the game, it actually nothing happens, and that is because it actually has some damage threshold you need to reach before it breaks. So if we go into settings inside, so open this iron ore, GC iron ore, and here few things play into account. So first thing is mass, so how heavy the object is, and at the moment is 2500, which is in kilograms, but I'm going to change it to something like 5000. I think that's a good value. But then in the damage, so here you do have damage and damage threshold. If you open it up, you do have these 3 damage thresholds, and first one starts at 500,000, and that much how much force it actually needs to break. But the way it is calculated with gravity is apparently if you multiply this mass by 10, so it gives you 50,000, and obviously that doesn't reach the damage threshold, so the object is not breaking. So what we need to do here, I like to change this to very small values like 100, 50 and 10. And now we're obviously reaching the damage threshold with the gravity. So if we drop it again, well, nothing will happen, only one piece broke off, and that is because sometimes you need to actually reload it. So delete it and drag it out again. And now, as you can see, it shattered into 30 pieces, so that's working fine. But what you can see now, at least on my mesh, is my material is all black inside, so it doesn't look very good. And the reason is because it's actually using this texture, and it only wraps the rock, but then the rest of it is filled up with the black color. So what I'm going to do is download different texture. If you're using the same one or you have the same problem on some of them, just download different one. It can be any rock or stone, and then you can use that and change the color. I'm just quickly going to go to Fab and search for rock material. And here on the price, I'll select 3. And then just find whatever you like here. I think this one, Rock Cliff, looks quite nice, so I'm going to add it to project. And then this is material instance, so I can rename this to mi iron ore, and I'm going to also drag it to my iron ore folder. Okay, close this, and now I'm going to open the iron ore and change it here to my iron ore. And we can open the material, and here in base color factor, I can again change it to what it was before, something like that. Then maybe change saturation. There we go. Save it, and now this is my new asset, this one here actually, so it looks quite nice. And then this one also needs to be changed, it's the fracture that we created, so I do have it open here, so search for material, and you need to change all 3 of them to iron ore. I can just select it and then just press this. Is that the material I'm changing? Yeah. Right. So that's now changed, and if I drop it again, it shatters, but the pieces inside looks the same. Alright, so there is a bit of weird collision as well, but we'll fix that. And now how do we actually apply it to our resources? So what we need to do is we need to create new actor. So let's go to third person, blueprints, and here we do have items, but I don't want to keep it in items folder. Let's just create a new folder, which will be actors. And in here we'll go into right click, blueprints, blueprint class, and here in the classes, search for geometry collection. So geometry collection actor, select it, and this will be just geometry collection actor, or you can call it Destructible actor or anything like that, but I'll leave it as it is. So geometry collection actor BP, open it up, and here, so this is what I had a little bit of trouble, because you need to set it by default, otherwise some of the settings won't work. And then if you try to set it from the variable or from anything else for our resources, it will crash. So people were saying that it doesn't actually work without C++, but if you set it to default, we can change it. So change it to whatever asset you created, doesn't matter, we'll change it later. And then we need to turn off simulate physics, because we don't want to simulate them on the beginning. We will only enable it once we spawn it. And we also want to go to collision. And in the collision presets, first of all, we will ignore camera and we will ignore player. And then we will select the collision enabled and we will do no collision. Compile and save. Now in the construction script, we want to create first on this collection. If you hide this, then here in the rest collection, that is basically where you're setting the destroyable object. So we want to set this rest collection. So just get this component, set rest collection, and we want to be able to set it from the variable. So we're going to promote this to a variable, and this will be just geometry, or this can be destructible object or actor, destructible actor, and we're going to make this instance editable and expose on spawn. And that way we can actually plug it directly when we create this actor, and it will set it in the construction script straight away. And now we can just go to our resource. And in the end, we can do it after we start this respawn cooldown, because this one actually hides the mesh and everything else. We can do spawn actor from class. The class will be our geometry collection. Actor PP. Don't create the default one, just the one that we created. So geometry actor, and here you can see the destructible actor. We again need to promote it to variable. Destructible actor. And this will be the geometry collection, but we will make it instance editable. And now basically on the object, we need a spawn transform. So we'll do make transform. For now, just leave it. Here in the arena now, in the map, if you want to change this resource, first you will have to change actual mesh for different resource, then the gathering type, the resource type, and what resource you want to get. But we also need to change this destructible actor, otherwise it will give you different one. Or if you set it to none, I think it won't just create anything, so that should be fine. And now after we spawn this actor, we want to enable the physics. So from return value we'll get geometry collection component. So that is this component that has inside, it's the one that we're setting to this rest collection. And we need to set simulate physics. And we'll turn it on only after we spawn it. And then set collision enabled. And we will do physics and query. Query and physics, collision enabled. Right, and the reason why we're doing it after we're spawning it is because if you have physics and collision enabled and you spawn this object, sometimes this mesh doesn't hide in time, because we're basically spawning it in the same place that we do have this default static mesh. So it will be over it, and your engine will just crash. It won't handle it. It won't handle the collision. So we need to turn off simulate physics and then just turn them on after we spawn it. So that is pretty much it for the transform. Now there is one thing. If this object is just sitting on the floor, it doesn't have any force, so it doesn't have any gravity because it's just sitting there, so it won't actually break. But what we can do is just set the location Z 5 higher, so just above the ground, and that way it will drop from this small distance, and since our damage threshold is very small, it will be enough to actually break it. So in here we're going to get actor location, which is the location of this resource. We're going to break it open. We're going to break this open. So make transform, or first actually connect it. That will convert it for you, and then break this. So split struct pin. And now only Z value we want to do +5. And X and Y will be the same. So it will be just slightly above the ground. Now for the start respawn cooldown, that should be the same. We're hiding the mesh. We're not actually attaching the actor or anything to this one, so it can still hide. And now if I were to set this to our iron ore collection, I still have it set to gathering, so you wouldn't have a sound of mining. So I'll leave it as it is, but I'm going to change respawn duration to 10. And then if you go here and gather, it actually breaks apart. Alright, and I looted, and I can walk into these pieces, and it's all fine because we don't have a collision, but we have set that we can step on it. So you can see that I'm stepping on top of it. But now the problem is another mesh is spawning as well, and you don't want to have the million pieces as well, so you want them to eventually disappear. Otherwise the collision can get quite buggy. So what we're going to do is, in this geometry collection iron ore, so on each of one of them, you do have removal. And here you just need to remove on sleep, which is when it stops moving. And here we do have minimum and maximum, that is in seconds. So after 5 seconds to 10 seconds it will start disappearing, which I think is fine, but removal duration is how long it takes to disappear, so they will get progressively smaller. I don't like to have such a high values, so I'll do 1 to 2 seconds or to 1.5. And now if we play the game, it falls apart. Wait a couple seconds, and then it starts disappearing slowly. Obviously my respawn timer is shorter than the timer on the pieces to disappear, but that won't be the case because you don't want to resource respawn in 10 seconds. But you can see all of the pieces are now gone, and you can do it again. And now basically all of the things that we need to do is just create this fracture for all of the objects we want. On the video I'm just going to quickly do one tree, so you can see what is the difference. So on the tree itself, I'll just search for one here. Price free, and just one of these dry trees. I'm going to add it to project. This will be collect resource tree _sm, and let's rename this as well to tree and drag it into meshes. Move here, then drag it out, and go to fracture. Again, you need to create new geometry collection for the tree, and then uniform. Here I'll change it back to 20 because I don't want that many pieces. Here I'm going to reset the noise, because for wood the pieces can be smooth, it doesn't matter to me, maybe a little bit noise. and explosion amount, I'll do 0.5. I'll increase it for the 3 so it actually falls further, maybe 0.7. And then fracture, you now have a 3. Bone name, bone color, turn it off, drop it, and again you need to set the force and everything else. So go to your meshes. I'll just search for it here. Open it. You need to change. Mass should be fine if you leave it as it is, but here just do the small values, so 150 and 10. And then removal, again you would have to change it and do 1 to 1.5 or 2. So those are the only settings you need to always set. And now I have it done, so I can just select it here, change it. Now basically I should just spawn at 3. There we go. And it falls apart like that. Which is actually quite nice effect. So that is how you do fracture and how you break the objects into multiple pieces. One thing I forgot to add is that we actually want to destroy the actor as well after some time. So in this geometry collection actor, we're going to, on begin play, we're going to set timer by event. Drag of the event, add event, add custom event, and this will be destroy me. And after maybe about 20 seconds, so those pieces have time to disappear, we'll destroy actor self. Now we have that done. The last thing maybe we can add is also add the sound after we collect it. So that will be, we can do it in the resource itself, so we don't have to keep any more stuff in the player. And basically here at the end, when we get 100% and we're doing all of this stuff, we can just play sound 2D or sound at location again. We'll get actor location for self. And here we can do select, and it will be based on the resource type. And for mining, I do have rock crumble that I have downloaded, and it just sounds like this. So I don't have any other yet, I need to finish it up. So just download some sound, and then once we play it and gather, did it not play the sounds? Oh, it said not on mining, it said on gathering, so mining. There we go. Much better. Alright, so that's it for the resources. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.